Hello and welcome to another very spicy episode of Spotlight on Your Greatness. I am so thrilled, a little nervous for today's guest. And today I am joined by the beautiful and amazing Alexandra Hollowitz. And Alexandra is actually a sex coach, and she supports CEOs to master sexual energy and to thrive in bed and in business. Because when you tap into your sexual energy, you actually cultivate your conscious awareness so that you are more clear and more productive, more balanced. And it helps you to really get in touch with your emotional intelligence so that they can also have a fulfilling sexual relationship with their significant other. So I'm super excited to learn more about this amazing woman. So let's put the spotlight on Alexandra. Alexandra, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you so much, Katrin, to having me. It's amazing. I think it's so important to bring this topic, especially these days when it's still a lot of trauma, a lot of taboo around sexuality. But I also feel that in my field of work that I've been a coach 5 years ago and I've been a sex coach 3 years ago, that it's the consciousness around sacred sexuality is also rising, and the more people opening up and just even having this show or talking about sex publicly, it's getting more into the, I wouldn't say norm, but like more accepted, more like aligned with people, like it's okay to speak about it. So if you are watching us, this is also your permission slip that any question, anything you have, then feel free to ask even afterwards or just drop it below, because we are really here to help you and empower you. I know it for myself. It's been a hell of a ride, stepping into even just claiming that I'm a sex coach.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the beginning, I used to hide a lot. And when I went to events, I would just say, I'm a coach for people in their intimate life to improve. And I would describe it like so many different ways. And of course, people didn't understand, like, what the hell is she doing? Because I was still carrying a lot of shame around, right? Because people have a lot of judgment, critic, and anxiety to bring up the topic, like, hey, so what do you struggle sexually? And they would be like,
what do you mean? I don't struggle sexually.
Exactly. So I know also for myself, when I started to notice that the deep conditioning, so we were just talking about this. So generally there is three main components that for everybody really struggle, is like the religion thing, that if you've been brought up very religiously, unfortunately there is a lot of shaming in the religion, like you all know. And then maybe
May I ask a question in between?
sure.
Would you say the shaming when it comes from religion, is it more towards the women or also towards the men? Is it equally distributed, the shaming? What would you say?
Yeah, I feel that we shouldn't really, generalize, but if we could say like it's more towards women, that there is more like a slut shaming, like in some ways that now I think it's getting better, but of course that women's sexuality was very repressed for hundreds of years, and it was not okay to be connected sexually. It was just for, okay, having sex for reproduction purposes, but you shouldn't be like enjoying like desire, pleasure, and juiciness. Was like, what? She is a witch. And even when you say sexual energy, they will probably burn me.
Most likely. Okay, so that was the first one, the religious kind of like shaming and stuff. Okay, what's the second one?
Yeah, so then growing up, like what kind of education we got, because like probably your parents, maybe they told you about sexuality, but most of our parents, they even don't know because they didn't get the sexual education. Or if you're lucky, some schools, they have some kind of sexual education, but For instance, I'm from Hungary, and probably they just told us, oh yeah, with the protection and STD and all this kind of stuff, not to get pregnant. But they were not talking about that sexual energy actually can heal, or it can really empower your body, or it can just make you feel more happy in overall. They were just talking about the manual things, like what you have to
isn't
do.
isn't the sexual energy actually like kind of like the force of life? Like, isn't that what really, like, keeps us going, is like has this really very much creative aspect to it? And yeah, and I mean, basically just it's like, yeah, just like creative energy that helps you to build and to also connect with others, because of course creating all is always more fun if you have someone else to do it with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
However, going back on that topic, like it's one of the things is very important, especially for women as well, that to learn self-cultivation. So like self-pleasure,
Uh-huh.
because that's one of the things as well. Like many women carry a lot of shame around that it's not okay to masturbate, or it's not okay to self-pleasure. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be also something that, because it's like, when you're growing up, like depending really like what kind of influence you had in the media, or like the religion or your parents, and also what kind of experience you got with your partners.
Yeah.
Because maybe you were like sexually open, or maybe you were more curious than your partner, and then maybe you met someone that they were not so open, and
Mm.
they told you that's not okay, that you would like to experience those kind of things. So you started to slowly
Mm-hmm.
suppress yourself and your
Mm-hmm.
sexuality. So what I see that it's like a big problem, and even in my own life, like I was always very curious, very open-minded, and I kind of see sexuality as the gateway to actually like really opening your consciousness. And it's not only about sex, it's really about like connecting with yourself, your higher self, your spirituality.
Yeah.
So it's like really a path for, you could say like big words like enlightenment, but really like finding back to your own truth.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's very important to understand, that it's most people live really in the way that sexuality is equals like the manual that we do, but it's actually so much more. Like it's
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
desire, the pleasure, the joy, the juiciness, like how you can really tap into your own body's wisdom.
Mhm. So beautiful.
Mm.
And I think, as you just said, how can you tap into the wisdom of your body, which also I think has a lot to do with trust,
Mm.
and which will then like empower you to really create something you wouldn't dare to create if you're not connected with your sexual energy.
Mm.
I have a question just came up in me. Would you say that just because someone is in touch with their sexual energy, does that also mean that they are sexually active?
Not necessary, because as you said as well, like the sexual energy is actually like a life force energy, and it's within everybody. So you can either use it towards like sexuality, so either like attracting new partner, or having greater sex in your life, or connecting with your solo play, or you could actually just keep the sexual energy within your body and just transmit it towards like a creative project, launching your business,
Mhm.
up leveling, or having great connection, like Be Connected. So it's like so many different ways you can actually channel that energy.
Mhm.
So the energy is in the second chakra, it's in the sacral chakra, and it's basically like it's within everybody. But
Mhm.
the thing is like, we just have to start activating and have to start connecting with it. And
Mhm.
what's very beautiful into it, like there are so many people being conditioned, so in the way like as we grow up, or also like the way that we learn that it's okay to behave. So there is also, I believe that there's a double standard for sure, like in Eastern Europe, and I think also in America. I work a lot of Americans as well, and they have a lot of standards, like it's okay for do certain things for a man, but it's not okay for a woman. So that's also, you have to question yourself as well, like, is it true for me? And just really listen to your sacred answer. Like if it's a hell of a yes, then probably it's not okay for you, the conditioning. And if you agree with it, then okay, just keep following it. So I always encourage my client to really tap into, like, is it true for me, or is it a conditioning coming from somewhere else?
Yeah, totally. So I want to ask you about something you've said earlier, that like in the beginning you started out as a life coach, if I remember correctly, and eventually understood that no, it's not the life coaching per se, but that you want to niche down on like being a sexual coach. I would like to understand, how did this happen? Like what made you, like, did you one day suddenly wake up and like, you know what, I'm gonna be a sex coach? Like, how did this happen? I mean, this is like not an obvious niche to pick. Let me put it this way.
Yeah, actually it was funny, because even when I was advertising myself as a life coach, 90% of people, they were talking about their relationship and their sex life with me. So I just have this open aura that people will see me, and the first time they would tell all of their things, all of their secrets and everything, basically, just like, okay, I know you, I can trust you and you understand me. And I think it's like the way that I have very this open-mindedness and no judgment. So like you cannot say anything like I would be like, oh my God. And believe me, I heard many different things.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Stories in 5 years. So I think it was more for me, like the really big push, that I took on a business coach. And then I decided that, okay, I'm a general life coach, and we did like this strength, like what is my strength? And the answer came very intuitively to me, like, okay, I'm great in sport and sex. And he told me, so this is your truth. This is the answer, basically, like you wanting to do the sex coaching, but you are too afraid to say that I'm a sex coach. And then for me, it took me another year to really embody the fact that I am. And then I started to travel. I went to Bali, and then in Bali, I met all these crazy tantric people, and everybody was like a tantric sexuality coach, a tantric embodiment coach, or whatever. And then I was like, okay, so that thing is actually existing. So I was like, wow, so I really love it, like how I can implement it. So I started to learn Tantra, I did de-armoring, I did a lot of energy work, and I started to tap into, like, so what am I, it's unique for me. And I like to say that the way that I think, like, I'm more like a holistic sex coach. So I really work with my client on the mind, body, and the spirit level. So it's not really just about, like, again, going back to the basic, like, okay, just sexuality. Because what my realization in the years was that actually, if you are not connected to yourself, so you're not master yourself, this goes down again, self-worth, self-confidence, knowing who you are, you will do exactly the same things in the bedroom as well. Just when you get to the bedroom, you will have actually no excuse, no place to hide anymore.
Yeah.
You have exactly the same problems in the life, but then in the life you can decide, okay, I'm just gonna ignore this person, or I'm just gonna hide. Hold them back. But when you are in the sexual situation, if you cannot have orgasm, or if you come too fast, or whatever is the case, there is nowhere to hide, right? Because it's like an obvious fact that is happening.
That there's something not
underneath,
quite right.
Like,
Okay. So eventually, so it basically was like, it's really interesting, because you're not the first one who started out at like this kind of coach, but the clients constantly kind of like came with a very specific topic to them. So there was like this, I called it, in another interview, I called it the nudge of the universe, like, yeah, life coach, great, but no, you actually it's like about sexuality. So, and I'm pretty sure by now that this is apparently also, and you've mentioned it when the coach asks you, like, what are you really good at, like sports and sex. So this is apparently, I mean, like a unique greatness, like, is this like, would you say like, yeah, sex was always very easy for me? And have you always been like, I don't know, was it easy for you to enjoy, to explore yourself, with your partners? Like, I mean, it's weird asking these questions even, like, how is it a unique greatness? Like, how do we understand as a woman that sexuality is my unique greatness?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think like really the understanding was always that I love experimenting. So I was always very adventurous, and I was always very tapped into other people's energy and other people's like connections. So I was, as you said, yeah, naturally was good at it, because I was always knowing kind of like, okay, this person is this type of person and I should be like this, or I act like this. And I kind of think also that sexuality is really like, now I put more like, okay, I'm a tantric sexuality coach, but also I have clients who has fantasies and fetishes and things. So I really think like sexuality should be a really broad experience, in terms of like, if there's a scale from 1 to 10, you should be able to go for all the kind of different flavors. So it shouldn't be like, yeah, I'm a tantric person, or I'm the BDSM person, or I'm the heterosexual or whatever person you are. You shouldn't really put yourself in a box. So
Yeah.
sexuality was always kind of like this experiment, like feel like what flavor do I want to eat today, which today I want the chocolate, or I want vanilla ice cream, or chocolate chip one, whatever. So I think for me it really was more like this, to get more permission into like, this is like a great adventure, and this is, as you said, like, it's my superpower. So why not share it with others, that this is okay, and it's very liberating to feel like this way.
And it's also so important that you, took up the challenge to, like, I mean, I can imagine that when you came up with the decision that you want to be a sex coach, that it wasn't necessarily easy to stand up and say like, hey, I'm a sex coach because this is what I'm really good at, I mean, I can already see the headlines like Alexandra, the whatever, people come up with. So
misconception as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had, I guess, to put up a lot of strengths, and you had probably to work a lot of your own self-esteem and confidence and self-worth on a whole new plane, so to say. Like, you could probably were a very self-confident person, but suddenly you had to show up sharing your unique greatness in a way that you were like, what? At least that's how I experience it for me, like, I mean, it's one thing to keep our unique greatness for ourselves and to, like, have the best time with ourselves, but to suddenly stand up and, share it with the world, that's a whole different story. So
absolutely,
what encouraged you to basically walk this path, to say, yeah, I'm going to do this, it's worth like every step, every single step, every time I fall down, every time I get up? Like, what helped you to make that decision and to walk the path, to liberate yourself, to allow yourself to share your unique greatness?
Yeah, so for me, I think that the big shift came like 3 years ago, when I attended the first tantric sexuality retreat. And there was 50 people in the room. And then I thought I was very self-confident and self-aware and very open-minded. But when you are surrounded with 50 other people who are like super turned on and very ecstatic, and all sort of crazy stuff could happen, then I was thinking, oh, wow, I thought I'm very liberated, but I'm actually not that much. So then I started to face my own demons. And actually, like, for me, like, the biggest breakthrough came through like self-pleasure. So when our teacher told us on the day 14 that, okay, so now is the exercise is going to be that make love to the floor. And I was like, what the... And it's like, what is he even meaning? Like, make love to the floor? It doesn't even make sense. And basically, was that is the tantric masturbation that now also I teach most of my clients, which brought me really great results. Like, I manifested my current partner, I manifested a new apartment, my business really took off. So just generating this energy within you with tantric principles, it's like really something that you can start doing. And it's really for, if you are a woman, it could be really like sexual healing for you. And if you are a man also, because it's like you have to decondition yourself, like in the old way of doing masturbation and touching yourself. So what is really this mindful masturbation? It actually has 5 different elements. So we work first on the mindset, which also myself had to go through, like what's the norm, what's the belief, what's the social conditioning, what's happening, you know, how you should do. And if you are a man, we work really deeply, because most men use fantasy or porn to have masturbation, and also some women. But so we work literally on the mindset that it's you should start focusing more on your body instead of outer source. Because if you think about it, if you always put your pleasure outside of yourself, it's really difficult, because someone closed the tap like this, and you are staying with dry, like nothing happening.
I have goosebumps all over, because it basically, it always comes down, everything you need is within you. If you rely on the outside world, on the externals, you give your power away.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter with what, but it always comes down to everything you need is within you. You just have to have the guts, the courage to explore it, to open up to yourself, to, like, it's so crazy.
Yes.
Like all the sexual pleasure, all the power is within you if you allow yourself to tap into it.
Absolutely. And also I teach the people how to use their breath, because what happens that most of the people, they are breathing very shallow. So when actually like close to an orgasm or experiencing any sexual encounter, they are really shortage of breath. So that's actually triggering the response. So they are not enjoying like a full range of orgasm, but they are just having peak orgasm. So that's why also a lot of people feel after sexual encounter that not fulfilled, or not joyous, or not happy, so not satisfied, but they kind of feel tired, depleted, and they just, you know, there's a joke even that the man, they just turn around and okay, night baby, but it's because it's not fulfilling for them, right? So then using your breath actually consciously, we do a lot of different exercise to activate, to get your nervous system, you know, regulated and stuff. So the breath is one of the most important, and also to work yourself through that waves of like, okay, the arousal is coming, what's happening in my body, how is my energy behaving right now. And then also I work a lot with the deconditioning of the throat. So we do like vocal deconditioning and de-armoring. It means like how you're able to use your voice, because what happens that many of the people, they are really just silent in bed, so not communicating their needs, not making any sound, not giving any sign that it's pleasurous or not pleasurous, or what's happening with them. So sound activation is very, very important, and also to move your body. So if you think about, like, if you, for example, be with together with you are with the person, right? After a couple of months or a year or two, the sex becoming pretty boring, because it's like the same pattern, the same way, the same thing. So everybody get bored, because it's always the missionary 8 p.m., you know, already that they're taking the axe to, you know, shower gel, and is this going to happen? So in that way, because the movement is becoming very rigid, so your energy also becoming very stagnant. So I help for men as well to become more connected with their movement, like how they can move through this kind of stagnation, how they can gain the presence of their own body. And then the next element would be the energy side. So that's basically the sexual energy to connect, like, because as I said, it's in everybody, but most people, they only use 5% of their energy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to start tapping into like how you can start feeling. Because the great news, even if you are a man, for women even more easy to reach multiple orgasms through the body as well. So you can have energetic orgasm, you can have, you know, like ear orgasm, nipple orgasm, any kind of orgasm basically you want.
Awesome. So that sounds really intriguing, if I may say. So but coming back, like, okay, so eventually you came up with, so this is basically your unique program, this like 5-step activation. What is it called again?
Yeah, it's the mindful masturbation.
The mindful masturbation. And coming back to your unique greatness is like that you eventually understood, not only by the nudges the universe gave you, that this is apparently what the universe sent you here to do, to help people enjoy their sexuality, but it also sent you on a path of self-discovery, so to say. Okay, that is really beautiful. And if besides, I mean, you already, I think, shared quite a few tips on how we can tap into our sexual energy maybe a bit more, or at least maybe kind of like encouraged us to think about it. So I think that alone is so powerful. So thank you so much for that. But is there anything else, like a tip you could give our viewers, you know, like about like what could help them to understand what their unique greatness is, to find the confidence to really tap into it, and you know, like maybe also you could share a little bit, like once you accept it, that you are supposed to be a sex coach, that your unique greatness of like enjoying your sexuality is actually a gift. Other people should and can benefit now from. How has that changed your life, not only in regards of your business, but in general? Like once you accepted your unique greatness, how has that really maybe changed your life?
Yeah, so there's two things came into my mind about this uniqueness. I think the one that now I'm very passionate also, that I'm starting to do like human design and be familiar with human design and Gene Keys, that it's something that you should start implementing and checking like what's happening, because I started 4 months ago in a journey that I got so much understanding of myself, and actually, like, you know, in a deeper knowledge, like why you are here. So what is your purpose, what is your path? And I am also feeling like it's a lot of things like in the sacral, so like conditioning with the gates and with the things. So that could be like a really good way to get started, like what is your uniqueness, why are you here? And the other thing, it's really, I wanted to say it like really fast, but then it slipped now. Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I think like it just also to probably connect with yourself more, like in the way that not listening outside, but really to tune into yourself, like who you are and what you are here to do. And for me,
but I think this is really the most I don't know if I don't feel like difficult is the right word, but I think this is like probably the most challenging thing, to tap into oneself and to not listen to what others say. Or I think my camera is out of focus again.
Yes.
Well, that's just how it goes. So to like, because we are so conditioned to always put our focus outwards, you know, that this is really one of the biggest lessons for everyone, to really go inside What is it that you want, that you feel in your heart, you
Mm.
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think also for, we met through a mastermind as well. And I feel that in my journey of self mastery, also that to actually find people that they are there where you want to go. So you find like mentors, coaches, and people that they've been on the path. So if you feeling that you sexually not there where you want to be, or you feel that it's more out there, it's definitely, you should look up like either myself or some other sex coach that you feel more called to. But it's something, like when you start working with the sexuality, that is, everything is going to shift. It's not only your sexuality, because it's like so often we start working on the sexuality and they get a job promotion, or we start working on the sexual issue and then they manifest a new partner, or so there is so many other things as well that you will get the benefits. And I think also with your greatness is that the one thing, I remember the one thing that you think that it's so natural for
Yeah.
you that people shouldn't pay for it. That's really one thing, because I could talk for hours and hours, and before human design, I thought, yeah, I'm just wired like this, like I love talking to people, and that's it. And then once I tapped into this human design thing, like I find out my throat is actually active. So the reason why I'm really good in the kind of interviews or speaking engagement, because it's like a line for me to do a lot more of this kind of gigs. So I think that also think about the things that you think is not for you, it's coming so easily that people shouldn't pay for it, because
And
probably
that's nothing special.
yes, because
Yeah.
that's one of the things also that you can start elevating your business, or start bringing in more connection, bringing in more collaboration with other people as well.
Yeah.
For me, that was a huge shift as well in the uniqueness.
Yeah. That's so true. And thank you so much for pointing it out again, because I really believe, and I've seen it so many times, especially when I was still working with younger people, with young professionals, that disregarding our unique greatness comes so easily, because probably we have been felt bad about it at some point, because it comes so easily, like for example, like I had one of my coaches was someone who also, it was super easy for them to connect, to network, to be the center of attention, but it was just so easily for him. And I can imagine sometimes he would get like called out for it, or like don't put yourself always into the center of attention. But for him it was just so natural. And but instead of like building up upon it, he was like, but people don't like that. So yeah, it's really, thank you so much for pointing it out yet again, that like if something comes super easy to you, you don't have to even learn it or think about it. You might want to cultivate it, but it just is your second nature. This is your unique greatness. And the question is, how can you actually use it to elevate yourself, your life, your business, and the lives of your clients as well? So thank you so much, Alexandra. I really had such a fascinating time. I really enjoyed having you. And if you want to be part of Spotlight on Your Greatness, if you want to have the spotlight on you, on your unique greatness, if you want to shower yourself with some self-love and give yourself a big old confidence boost, please send me a DM. Please reach out to me. I cannot wait to meet you, to hear your story, to hear about everything about you and your unique greatness. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Bye. See you next time.